if you think about it like long enough, if the only policy for a crime is a fine, then it's basically just illegal for poor people to do it, but not for rich people to do it. So Amazon doesn't actually have the best reputation as far as companies go, especially when it comes to the way they treat their workers. In fact, the internet has been flooded over recent years with memes about Amazon factory workers having to piss in bottles, ridiculously long hours, not being able to use the bathroom, outright abusive working conditions. Hell, recently there was a story that really hit the news for like, I don't know, 3 days before it sort of got pushed to the wayside because of the 24-hour news cycle. Where an Amazon warehouse was hit by a tornado, I believe. It was a few months, like 2 months ago or something like that. It's been a little while. Amazon warehouse hit by a tornado, and the workers weren't allowed to leave. They weren't allowed to leave. A bunch of them died. Many got hurt. It was really bad because the workers of the Amazon warehouse were not allowed to leave. So, because of numerous examples like this, more examples than I, one, even know, and two, could even list, Amazon doesn't have the best reputation. To add on to all of that, Amazon is also extraordinarily anti-union. For those of you guys that don't know, a union is essentially a collection of workers that guarantees with the power of sort of a mutual sort of like coming together in agreement, like, hey, we're the workers. It's very lefty. It's a very lefty thing. Like workers kind of taking power. Unions are not very popular here in the United States. In other countries, and even in the past, they definitely were. But the Red Scare and sort of like the McCarthy era and just the more right wing, anti-communist, anti-socialist, more pro-free market nature of America means that unions aren't exactly that liked by most Americans. They've been talked down significantly. In fact, not only that, but at least most jobs that I worked and most jobs that my friends worked, they would outright say, if you hear one of your coworkers talking about unionizing, let's just say there might be a reward in it for you if you rat them out so they can fire them. This is not exclusive to Amazon by any means, but Amazon is notorious for their extremely aggressive union busting. Now, the idea of unions is essentially to protect the workers from their managers, okay? That's more or less what it's meant to do. It is meant to ensure that, the workers at a company get a fair shake in regards to hours, vacation, time off, sick days, benefits, pay, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It also, makes sure that the company has to maintain a certain work standard. And these are all things that are very good for the workers, very much not good for the company if they want to continue to hoard as much profit as possible. With that said, though, Amazon workers been pushing hard for unionization, especially recently. And just today, and no, this is not an April Fool's joke. I know what day it is, but I'm not doing any April Fool's bullshit. Just today, this happened. Amazon workers at New York warehouse vote to form company's first U.S. union. Let's go! Amazon warehouse workers at a facility in New York City have voted to form the first U.S. union in the tech giant's 27-year history, marking a stunning victory for a bootstrap effort led by a fired employee. In a closely watched election, workers at a Staten Island, New York facility known as JFK 8 voted in favor of forming a union with a newly established organization called Amazon Labor Union, ALU, which was started by current and former warehouse employees. There were 2,654 votes in favor of unionizing and 2,131 votes against it by the end of the second and final day of public vote counting on Friday. Out of approximately 8,325 eligible voters, 4,785 votes were counted, and another 67 were challenged. 17 ballots were voided. The parties have 5 business days to file any objections. Now, here's the part, all this is good, cool, union, awesome. The warehouse is getting unionized, or at least it seems like the vote passed, and it's heading in that direction. Should this succeed, no doubt the results will speak for themselves. As much as Amazon's anti-union propaganda and their scare tactics may be very effective, if the evidence of how effective and beneficial unions are, especially for Amazon workers, become apparent because of this factory, then no doubt there will be more and more pro-union sentiment boiling up among Amazon workers and, frankly, workers all around the country and the world with a more pro-union outlook. Now, here's the part that I find a little bit more concerning and a little bit more important, frankly. In a statement after the vote, Amazon indicated that it is exploring various legal channels to fight the results. We're disappointed with the outcome of the election in Staten Island because we believe having a direct relationship with the company is best for our employees, Amazon said in a statement. We're evaluating our options. Fucking ghouls. Fucking ghouls, dude. The staggering result could prove to be a milestone moment for Amazon and the broader labor movement in the United States. The union vote has the potential to upend how Amazon and the country's second largest private employer, engages with some members of its vast workforce. It could also add fuel to organizing both within the company's own sprawling empire, where some efforts are already underway, such as at an Amazon Fresh store. And what is Amazon Fresh? Is that like where you just go to is it like an Amazon store? You buy fresh food? Good Lord. At an Amazon Fresh store in Seattle, as well as other companies across the country. It's like an Amazon grocery store. The outcome was hailed by advocacy groups, large labor unions, and the White House, with Press Secretary Jen Psaki, I can never pronounce this person's name, telling reporters Friday that President Joe Biden was glad to see workers ensure that their voices were heard. John Logan, professor of labor and employment studies at San Francisco State University, called the ALU win a jaw-dropping result. He added, there really is no bigger prize for unions than winning at Amazon. Big if true. Shortly after the tally was complete, Christian Smalls, the president of ALU, who is largely the face of the organization, joined a crowd of other ALU organizers and members of the other labor groups that had gathered in downtown Brooklyn to celebrate the win. Sipping from a bottle of champagne and wearing pants emblazoned with the brand new Billionaire Boys Club, Smalls gave a brief history of his contentious relationship with the company. 2 years ago, my life changed forever, said Smalls, who was fired from his job at the facility in March 2020 after leading a walkout to protest pandemic-related health and safety concerns. Smalls says he was retaliated against. Amazon says he was terminated by violating its policy that required him to quarantine after being notified of a possible COVID-19 exposure. I only wanted to do the right thing and speak up for workers behind me, he said. In his speech, he also mentioned a widely reported suggestion by Amazon executive in 2020 to disparage Smalls as not smart or articulate. At the time, the executive said his comments were personal and emotional and that he'd allowed his emotions to get the better of me. Wait, hold on. This guy sounds like he's like, wait, hold on. He said he was retaliated against. Amazon says he was terminated for violating its policy that required him to quarantine after being notified of a possible COVID-19 exposure. Either this guy's like a crazy anti-vaxxer who I guess focused his frustration with Amazon terminating him for not quarantining after COVID-19 exposure to like a union thing, which I guess cool based. Or Amazon's just lying to make this person look bad. It's not about me. Amazon tried to make it about me from day one, Smalls said. It's always going to be Amazon versus the people, and today, the people said they wanted a union. True! At the gathering, some handed out flyers that read, "Vote yes for the union." Despite what Amazon tells you, the union isn't some outside organization. It's a legal recognition of our right to have a say at work, as a group instead. Members of another pro-labor group held a large sign that read, "Amazon and Starbucks, stop union busting, recognize the union and negotiate now." The results of a separate do-over election of facility in Bessemer, Alabama, was too close to call. A total of 875 workers of the facility voted for joining a union, and 993 voted against it, according to the tally, which was also conducted on Thursday. But another 416 ballots were challenged. The National Labor Relations Board expects to hold a hearing on the matter in the next few weeks to determine whether any of the challenged ballots will be opened and counted. Maybe this Bessemer, where was it? Alabama? Bessemer, Alabama. Yeah, maybe this Bessemer, Alabama uh, uh, election might have the results overturned upon review. Who knows? Maybe they'll have a union too. A bootstrap push succeeds while an established union stumbled. Both union efforts were born out of worker frustrations with Amazon's treatment of workers amid the pandemic and were also motivated in part by increased national attention to racial justice issues and labor rights. But there are key differences between the two. The Alabama effort was done in coordination with the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union, RWDSU, an 85-year-old labor union which has organized tens of thousands of workers. By contrast, the Staten Island push is not aligned with an existing labor union, but rather is trying to create its own. Smalls previously told CNN Business that ALU is running on pennies compared to other campaigns, garnering $100,000 in donations raised through pages on GoFundMe, a crowdfunding platform. He has sought to differentiate his organizing effort from the one in Bessemer, stating that having an independent union led by current and former employees of the facility was working and resonated with the workers. ALU has also garnered enough signatures for an NLRB election at a nearby Amazon facility in Staten Island after this month. The two union pushes are also unfolding in two very different parts of the country. The RWDSU drive occurred in Alabama, a right-to-work state where union membership is low. New York, on the other hand, has the second highest union membership in the nation. Amazon's starting wage for workers of at least $15 an hour also fares differently in Alabama, where the minimum wage is $7.25 compared to New York City's $15. They're enormously important elections. Amazon is a company that is not just retail, it is not just logistics. It cuts across almost every sector of the economy, Logan said. I think lots of pro-union Amazon workers will take inspiration from this. There's nothing exceptional about Staten Island to suggest that you can win at Amazon. You could win at Amazon there, but not somewhere else, Logan said. All of a sudden, organizing at Amazon no longer seems futile. Logan credited the initial RWDSU Bessemer drive 1 year ago, which was celebrated by a number of celebrities and politicians alike, with broadly creating energy and enthusiasm amongst young people interested in organizing themselves. While the results of that election favored Amazon, a do-over was called for, and the company was deemed to have illegally interfered. An Amazon spokesperson also called the decision disappointing at the time. Oh, wait, that's hilarious. Wait, they said the same thing. The election that they illegally interfered in a year ago for unionization, they said the same thing. Oh, we found the decision disappointing. God. Listen, guys, for those of you guys that don't know, the term political correctness isn't like a political right-wing meme. That's not where it comes from. The term political correctness originates from the corporate world. Okay? It originates from like companies like this softening their language to make it sound not as bad, because they don't want to say what they really mean outright and make, the company look bad. That is what political correctness actually is. That is the origin of that word. And this right here, we found the results of this election very disappointing. This right here is corporate political correctness at its finest. Labor experts have repeatedly said that organizing Amazon workers is an incredibly difficult task given current labor law and the company's opposition to such efforts. Amazon's anti-union campaigns included signage inside its warehouses, text messages, and meetings that workers were required to attend before the election periods kicked off. In both cases, it's a David and Goliath situation. They're up against a very powerful, determined opponent. Ruth Milkman, a labor sociologist at the City University of New York, previously told CNN Business. In both cases, it's a very heavy lift because of Amazon's resources and determination to stamp out any unionization efforts. Amazon has previously said its employees have always had the choice of whether or not to join a union, and that it was focused on working directly with our team to make Amazon a great place to work. Oh, I believe it. I believe it, Amazon. I believe it, Bezos? I believe it, Bezos. I believe it. I believe that is absolutely your priority.
Welcome to
Anyway,
capitalism, dude.
as you can tell by the article here, Amazon is absolutely going to do everything in their power to overturn these votes, and I wouldn't be surprised if they end up illegally doing so. It is very possible that Amazon will end up illegally interfering with the process from here on out, just as they have in the past, and then totally get away with it. You think that Amazon can't pay fines You think Amazon can't afford to pay fines for dismantling this potential union? Listen, Amazon has a lot more money and resources than the workers do. I assure you, the workers are not going to be able to Zerg rush constant attempts at building unions at Amazon and make it, okay? Amazon has way more money, resources, lawyers, it doesn't matter. They're going to beat the workers every time if it's not done properly. At the end of the day, it's going to require much harsher, sort of restrictions on these companies when it comes to union busting is really the only thing that can, it's got to be jail time. Listen, all right, I'm going to be honest, guys. Fines don't really sit well to me in principle, right? Like, practically, it's probably good that there's, like, a middle ground for, like, low-tier crimes that aren't, like, really, like, worth sending someone to jail or prison for. You know, like speeding tickets or, like, yeah, like shit like that, you know, or like a fine for shitting on the sidewalk. I don't know. Like, I get that, but at the same time, if you think about it like long enough, if the only policy for a crime is a fine, then it's basically just illegal for poor people to do it, but not for rich people to do it. I mean, functionally, it doesn't happen much because if you do something like that, like if you get too many speeding tickets, even if you pay them off, I'm sure eventually something's going to go down. But, like, it doesn't sit right with me on a certain level. Regardless, though, obviously Amazon's going to try to overturn this. But in the meantime, it's something worth celebrating. And we should pay a lot of attention to this factory. We should look and see if, like, the quality of work, if the happiness of the workers, you know, working at this factory, if the pay goes up, if the productivity goes up, just overall look at the bottom line of this factory and see how beneficial a union is to it, and just spread that data all over the internet. Do not let a single person who hears about Amazon workers trying to unionize escape the inescapable fact that unionized workers tend to be more productive. Anyway, if you enjoyed this segment, and I hope you did, please consider dropping a like on the stream. It helps out a lot. It's completely free and it takes half a second. It helps me, the channel, and the stream out a lot more than you even realize. Of course, as a stream goes on, YouTube stops recommending it to my subscribers, you know, the longer it goes on for, unless you guys frequently like the stream, which tells YouTube, wait, people are liking this stream. People are engaging. This is clearly a good live stream. We should keep on telling Xander Hall subscribers that he's live. So definitely consider dropping a like. I really do appreciate it.